Welcome to the BXG Podcast, the podcast where pop culture and nerd culture meet.
You think it's just going to be barbecue sauce?
Because if you actually read those books, it's just gobbledygook.
I really think clothes should be mandatory.
Speaking of Star Wars,
Captain America.
trailer reaction video. Enola Holmes 2. And this is a movie about Sherlock Holmes' sister. And Sherlock Holmes himself is a secondary character played by Henry Cavill. Enola Holmes is played by Millie Bobby Brown. Their mother is played by Helen Bonham Carter. The bad guy is played by Remus Lupin from Harry Potter.
That's right.
And this particular tale of Sherlock Holmes, she is trying to solve a case of a missing person. Sherlock is trying to solve the case of some, moving around bank finances, so on and so forth, revealed to be his arch nemesis, Moriarty. Spoilers. I mean, whatever. We spoil things in our recaps.
Yeah.
If you don't, I mean, if you've listened or watched enough, you know that we just recap shit and, spoilers.
Get over it. Yeah.
But I should say also that their cases kind of become entwined and they realize what is going on and they're able to pinpoint who the real bad guy is. And I will say, I forget what happened through 2/3 of this movie, but the last third was actually really good.
Yeah,
I
last third was very
super engaged with the last third, but I was very much of the mind of, how did we get here? And this is the crazy part. I didn't even have my phone on me.
Okay. I will say I don't necessarily disagree with you. I was like fully engaged. The entire way. The middle part is lacking, but the end is very cool. The end is very much like, okay, we have, and you do find at the very end it's based off a real thing, like the actual way it ends up. The thing that I like about the Enola Holmes movies is that they do move. They move very much. The thing I dislike about the Enola Holmes movies is that there are parts that where like it doesn't seem like it matters. And I think you kind of hit that, Brendan. I was gonna say, like, I watched this whole way through and I didn't necessarily forget what happens. I just did not think that part that you forgot what happens mattered. So I think you forgetting what happens is basically the same thing, where it's like it just didn't matter, and that's a problem. But these movies are so entertaining; they're fun to watch. And you got Henry Cavill and Millie Bobby Brown, and they're people that we like. Is a general like concept of like actors. We like them. There's not anything wrong with them as being. You know what I mean? Is like there's nothing. We don't dislike either of these two people. Like Henry Cavill is Superman. He's also the Witcher guy.
Yeah, girl.
And he won't be anymore, but he also is just like a cool dude. Like Henry Cavill is just a cool dude. And then Millie Bobby Brown is 11 and she's just she's just a person that people want to
the verge of tears more often than not.
Well, yeah,
not
I
this
will
movie.
say this. I will say she only cried once, and it was a cry moment that was actually the purpose of that point. So I thought that was good. I think she is good at acting to the relative part that she is also just 18 years old. And that is weird to think of, like anyone. And then, so I think the positives movies outweigh the negatives of these movies. And I'm classifying these as 2-part movies. The problem that I have with like a lot of movies just in general now, and this is nothing to do with just this movie, just all movies, is that middle is so hard for people to write. They don't know how to take that beginning part, which the beginning of this part of the movie is actually a lot of stuff happening. And the end part is a ton of stuff happening. And something is actually based off of real life. And then the middle is just like, doesn't matter. And that is a problem with this. I like this movie fine. I will say I walked away, I walked away from this movie being like, that was fine. It was good. I liked it. I was entertained enough, but they need to fix middle of movies just in general. They really do. It's just not this. This was just indicative of what movies kind of are now that aren't. I don't know. It's just most movies are this. Not every movie, I guess, can be Top Gun Maverick anymore. Where like even that movie was just like awesome through the middle. I'm not saying just because I'm a Tom Cruise. I just like that movie. There's a reason why it made so much money because it did hit all those points the entire way through. But movies really struggle with that now. Marvel movies struggle with that now. Black Panther comes out today, the day this comes out. I'll be interested to see how they deal with middle parts of movies because that seems to be the biggest struggle. So I will say this movie was fine. The middle was okay. I love that it was based off a real thing, though. I do love that.
I think what I was maybe let down about with this is that I'm a big Sherlock Holmes guy. I think, to me personally, Benedict Cumberbatch is the best Sherlock Holmes, and the BBC Sherlock's series that he's done along with Martin
That is
Freeman
great. It's very
as
good.
Dr. Watson are really good. And I think having a little bit of that backstory knowledge of having read some of the novels and having seen the whole of the Benedict Cumberbatch thing, as soon as they introduced Moriarty, I was checked out on the Enola story. I was just like, I don't fucking care about that. It's kid stuff. I don't care. Like, show me Sherlock Holmes and Moriarty.
Give me Moriarty.
And I think that maybe does a little bit of a disservice to the lead character in this particular film, because this is supposed to be about her, not about, like, Sherlock's a secondary character.
Right.
He's not the main draw. And I think that they did a disservice to the Enola character by interpreting this with his arch rival in it. And obviously a different take with that character as well. But I think that I really like, the thing that I really like about Sherlock Holmes stories is the whole deduction thing. And I just don't think that these movies do a great job of that. They highlight it a little bit when they do. I think that they do a decent job with it. It's just maybe not enough of it.
Sure. That's what I was saying. There's a lot of it, but not enough. Have you watched the Robert Downey Jr. ones?
Yeah, I don't particularly care for them.
Oh, really? Because I really like those.
They're a little bit too actiony for me.
Okay.
And I don't necessarily.
I really like them, but the deduction's good though. There is a good amount of deduction in those movies.
I don't necessarily see Sherlock Holmes as being like an actiony guy, and I think that that's why, for me, Cumberbatch works a little bit better than Robert Downey Jr. and Henry Cavill, is because, like, you see Henry Cavill, you're expecting ass kicking. I mean, the dude is Superman. You know what I mean? He's chiseled out of the face of a mountain. And RDJ, that's like right around the time of Iron Man and some of the early MCU stuff. You're like, okay, he's going to be doing some action stuff. But Benedict Cumberbatch, even in the Doctor Strange movies, he's not an ass kicker. You know what I mean? He's kind of a more shrewd sort of character.
Sinewy.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the reason that character works a little bit better for me. But I mean, like I said, I found the last third of this to be pretty entertaining. It was just the run up to it. Like you said, I didn't really feel like the ballroom scene. It's like, what do you like? I don't care about this secret love affair. And
the thing I'll say is they felt like it didn't matter. Like the movie just didn't seem to. The movie didn't seem like it cared about making that matter. That's what I think is a problem. Is like we don't have writers that can. I'm just sounding like a dipshit, or I'm not sounding like I feel like I'm making fun, but it's like people don't know how to write movies as well anymore. And I almost think it's to blame, and I hate to say it, but it's just to blame on like Marvel. I mean, it really is, because it's like we have this thing of like we have to just make everything actiony, and when we don't know what to do.
Right.
And this is why, like I've mentioned, like the new Steven Spielberg movie coming out. Like I'm stoked about that movie, because like it's not actually, it's him. It's basically like a biography about his thing, and it's like about his life. And like people just don't know really what to do with movies anymore. And I think we're at a real crossroads with movies where that middle ground is so hard to write that we just can focus on the beginning and the end, and that's it. And like the book is, to me, like 400 pages with 150 pages that don't matter.
Yeah, I just there were things that were. I felt like there were really things that were interesting, and they just kind of glossed over them.
Right. Yeah.
In place of, well, we need to have like a chase scene, on a buggy, like in a buggy.
Right.
That's and it's not even like, oh, well, these won't hurt them. They're just smoke bombs. It's like, and I don't want to sound how I know I'm going to sound, but it is what it is. I'm kind of over the whole female power trip thing of, we're a couple of ladies and we're going to kick these 5 guys with swords asses. Personally, I find a female character who is a little bit more intelligent, who is a little bit more cunning, who is a little bit more shrewd, to be way more interesting than like Millie Bobby Brown is 18 years old and she knows a little bit of hand-to-hand combat, so she's kicking the ass of a grown police officer.
I mean, and anyone knows me knows that I prefer my women barefoot in the kitchen, making me dinner, having a baby. So I'm just trying to take it off you, Brendan. I'm just trying to take that.
I don't know. I just like,
but I do prefer my women barefoot in the kitchen, making me dinner, having a baby.
I don't know.
The new slug for me is that you cutting that up, Brendan, and just that's me saying that.
I think that I just find, like, I understand it, but I also find it to be a bit maybe patronizing.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah,
and I feel like the wrong things are being highlighted. Women are smarter than men. I'm here to tell you, and I am one. I'm a man. Women are smarter than men, and so why are we trying to like? I don't want to say assign, because that gets in the whole thing.
Well,
it's like, a character that is like very intelligent. I don't know. I like that scene is just like, it didn't work for me. It would have been way more interesting to do some type of like, okay, we're just going to outsmart these guys because they're big and strong and we're not, but they're also fucking idiots and we're really smart. I think that just makes more sense to me.
Right.
And maybe it's the overemphasis on needing action in these movies, but I think that that's more of a way to develop that character where we're trying to show that she's very intelligent, like very intelligent. So why are we highlighting stuff that's maybe not super realistic?
I guess the thing is too, is you have to remember, like, this isn't just built for people that are like sophisticated movie watchers.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
My last thing is, what did you think of Watson coming in at the end?
Was that the dude from Inception?
I think so. Yeah.
That's what I was fixated on. I was like, is this the?
So do you think they're going to do it?
I said, so. Yeah. There's definitely.
So do you think it's going to be? Well, not a third movie. Do you think there's going to be a Watson or a whole Holmes Watson movie with just those two characters?
I hope not.
As a side.
I hope not. This does not. This duo of movies is not worthy of a spinoff. Do the third one and get out. Do the third one and get out.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Netflix. So
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right.
Well, the
That's
other
all I have
thing,
to say. I
but,
mean,
I think the other aspect that you have to look at is, does Henry Cavill want to continue to work with Netflix?
I think Henry Cavill. This is the thing I will say about Henry Cavill. I really like Henry Cavill. I think he keeps being in weird roles. I think like Henry Cavill could probably be in something where he could win an Oscar. He just chooses to be in action stuff because like he's a nerd. It's so weird to think about the guy that is like fucking Goliath.
And he's
he's just in the weight room. You call him, you're like, "What do you do?" "I'm lifting weights." "Shut up." And it's like, but he's also the biggest nerd in the world. Like the guy loves video games as much as anyone.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna tell you right now,
like,
why he is out on The Witcher is because there was a bunch of reports that the writers and production team are not respecting the source material, which is the
I saw that
fantasy novels.
Yep. And he's like, "Fuck that, I'm out. Respect the nerdism of this." He should just throw him around. Why should you just throw him around? Just pick him up and be like, "Write it as I say."
As I say.
But as I say. But
yeah,
what would you give this,
friend? 6.
I would say 6.5.
Yeah. So there you go. 6.25. Thought I saw something.
Oh God, it was a ghost?
I thought it was a bat, honestly, but
bats are cute.
Probably the fuck they are. Flying rats, plague.
What? Rats are fine.
Plague carrying flying rodents.
Rats are cute.
Didn't COVID start because a guy ate a bat in a wet market in China?
That's not what actually happened. But
China.
It's not actually what happened, but it's fun that we think that's what happened.
Sometimes I just miss the way he says China.
I mean, you can just look it up. There, China. It's always there.
China. We have to take care of China.
Just quick on the politics thing.
No, let's just not.
No, I was just very quick on the politics thing. I just saw a guy on Twitter ran into like a voting booth. And he's like, "I'm just here to vote for weed," and just left. And I like that. Like,
I saw that somewhere too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, I love that was the only thing he wanted to vote on his ballot. I hope that's all he did. I hope he filled in that bubble and he said, "Screw it, I'm out."
I voted for myself because there was one
voting
candidate.
for you too, Brenton, but I already
that wouldn't have made sense because
it would have been funny.
Yeah, but I don't live in your state.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, it does.
I could next time I'll vote for Reginald the monkey. It's
okay. There was someone on my ballot that was running unopposed, and I was like, well, I'm gonna oppose him.
That's cool. Did you still make the ballot?
What's that?
Did you make like the thing where like they show you on the news?
No.
Oh, that's too bad.
No, it was state representative or whatever.
Oh, you should do local. Next time there's a local thing where you're unopposed, do that.
Yeah, I could
School board.
I
thought about running for politics.
Running for politics?
Something. I don't know
How
what.
do you
Where
run
do you think
for,
I should start?
Where
do you think politics? I should go? Where's me like something? I need to be in a political. Should I start school board?
You're running for office, not for politics.
No, but I don't know what office to do, so I'm saying running for politics.
Coroner.
Because I don't know what. I can't run for coroner. You actually have to have a degree in that.
Comptroller.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on.